Yeah, I think more people will be joining, but we can start. So, good morning, everyone. And on behalf of Bala Vikasa Center for Social and Responsible Business, delighted to welcome you all to this International Women's Day conversation. This year, we hear from women who build impact with leadership, capital, and systems change. So, across India, women are building enterprises that are not only responding to complex social challenges, but also redefining how they shape impact economy. Yet the reality, as you all would know, our speakers definitely know about that, is that while the participation has increased, the access to capital, representation in decision-making spaces, and structural support for women-led enterprises continue to lag behind, which is why we as ecosystem enablers believe conversations like these definitely matter, which is why today's session is not simply about celebrating women, but it is about examining the realities of building impact, what it takes to start, sustain, and scale purpose driven enterprises led by women, how women navigate leadership, capital, and institutional barriers, and what systemic shifts are required to enable the next generation of social entrepreneurs and women leading. Uh, we hope today's discussion offers these insights and reflections for all the founders, practitioners, ecosystem builders, and students as well, and aspiring entrepreneurs joining us. So, to help ground this discussion in a bit of data and let people know about the emerging trends and scopes in India's social enterprise landscape for women, I would like to invite my colleague Janani. So she handles the social entrepreneurship initiatives. Janani is a mentor and also a director at Santulit, which is a social enterprise working on menstrual waste management. So over to you, Janani.
Thank you so much. That's lovely of you. Good morning, everyone. I would like to have the presentation. Sathika, will you please share it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So once again, welcome to our International Women's Day. I would like to take you all through a short presentation titled is like the mispriced opportunities in social impact, bridging the system funding gap for women in entrepreneurship. So across the world, social entrepreneurship is becoming one of the most powerful way to solve the complex challenges from the livelihoods, financial inclusion, healthcare, and even climate resilience. So in India today is a home of around 2 million social enterprises working at the grassroots to address these issues. What particularly striking is the growing leadership of women in this space. Around 25% of social entrepreneurs in India are led by women, which is a significantly higher than 9% ownership we can see in the traditional MSMEs. When we take a global example, in UK, around 83% of social enterprises have led by women in the leadership roles. So the natural question is if social enterprises offer a more inclusive pathway to entrepreneurs, why do founders still face the steepest barrier, which is like the funding and scaling? So the reality is, while innovation is happening at the grassroots, the system that fund the innovation have not fully caught up. Uh, when we move to the data, some of the data researchers and all, we can see around 86% of women founders are driven by meaningful professional engagement, and 78% of people want to build something which is valuable. Only very small percentage says financial gain is the primary motive. But there is also a structural reason that social entrepreneurship or enterprises are often require less upfront capital than the high growth tech startups, making them more accessible for the first generation entrepreneurs. They also allow founders to address the real community challenges they experience firsthand. Few of the data also says that when we look into multiple sources, a recent study which mentioned that for every 100 rupees raised to the Indian startups and the investors network, only 4% goes to the women founders. This is called that 4 rupee problem. Within the social entrepreneurship, this gap is significant. Nearly 88% of women have never accessed impact investment, and almost half of them are bootstrapped. More than 75% of startup capitals. When it comes to the funding gap remains, women founders consistently report that financial as the biggest barrier. The reasons are several. Firstly, the sector bias, as many women-led enterprises operate in sectors like education, health, livelihood, often perceives as slower growth in investors. Second is like network gatekeeping, and the third is mismatch in the capital design. And many investment funds are set for venture scale tech exits, while social enterprises often scale through partnership, collaboration, and policy integration. When we look into a journey of a social enterprise or enterprise, firstly, it's like a grassroots stage where the founders launch a small enterprise and they address the local problem, and often funded by personal saving or self-help groups or microfinance in the Indian context. And when we look into the growth stage where they begin formalizing the operations, expanding their market, and this is where many founders face the biggest barrier to access the network and investors. Research shows that male founders are 3 times more likely to receive a warm introduction to the investors than the women. The final stage is systemic impact, where enterprises scale through partnership and the government institutions as well as the market access. But even here, representation matters. If we take globally, only 16% of venture capital partners are women, which influence investment decisions as well. And when we look into the ecosystem as a whole, the Indian ecosystem is welcoming the social enterprises or the model, and many government schemes have came up. PM Ka Mudra Yojana, which disbursed around 2.2 lakh crore to women. And there are many platforms which is helping continuously for women, like Niti Aayog initiative, which is like a woman entrepreneurship platform. And I'm glad that I am also part of web woman mentor, woman entrepreneurship platform mentor, and this is helping the woman to reach to the tier 2 and tier 3 cities. And when we look into the significant gap, 95% of women entrepreneurs are still unaware of the government schemes designed to support them. So there is also a digital divide which is existing, and a lot of capacity building activities and partnership which will be helping to reach and address these problems in the longer run. We look into the insight, the more important insight is that when women lead social enterprises, the impact multiplies. So women-led business creates 11% more employment opportunity for other women. They are more likely to reinvest in their communities. Research from many is showing that women-founded companies generate higher cumulative revenue over the time. So there is good examples from India also, Pandeshi Foundation, Ecofema, Seva, and so many such big organizations where like a woman is really playing a good role in the social enterprise thing. At the same time, if we look into what McKinsey says is like the opportunity, if the opportunity was given to women, we will be able to like generate around 770 billions to Indian GDP. So going ahead, if we see into the road ahead, what needs to change for the investors? The first step is simple. Audit your pipeline, ask how many women founders are entering the pipeline and how many actually reach the term sheet stage. And the second is like deploying gender lens. And for us, leadership position, he needs to examine something deeper. Who gets recommended, introduced, sponsored within our networks? Because of the network, often determine access to the capital. Uh, when we explored all these researchers, we understood that around 4% 4 rupee funding reality is there, impact gap is there. At the same time, the systemic barrier that women social enterprises faces are also there. But we have also seen the opportunity where women-led social enterprises are creating job, resilience, and systemic changes across the community. So the real question now is whether women do really is ready. And at the same time, the question is first, how do we shift the impact capital to where it is needed the most? And second is like, what does authentic leadership in social entrepreneurship truly look like? And finally, how do we redesign our system, not just to help women entrepreneurs, but to ensure they are truly lead and scale their impact? So that's more of it. And over to you, Sadhika. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Janani. So I think that presentation, what it really makes clear is that the challenge is not of women wanting to build impactful enterprises, but it's that our systems of capital and support, they're yet to catch up with the women and support in the way which the women require. So that brings us to the heart of this session, and we move on to a panel discussion where we hear directly from our leaders who are building impact enterprises across sectors, from agriculture to healthcare to grassroots innovation to assistive tech and livelihood. So each of them brings a unique perspective on what it means to build an organization that is not only mission driven but also capable of influencing systems at a scale. And to guide this conversation, we are very fortunate to have Preeti Lobo ma'am. She's a distinguished leader, a director at Enable India, uh, organization working and widely recognized for advancing economic independence and employment opportunities for persons with disabilities. And through her work, she has contributed to building inclusive livelihoods ecosystems by working closely with industry partners, social enterprises, and community organizations. So she brings a thoughtful perspective of how enterprises can create meaningful change, not just for persons with disabilities, but she has a wide experience, which she will. I would like her also to talk a little bit about her work. So we are delighted to have her moderate this conversation. So Preeti ma'am, the floor is all yours.
Thank you so much, Sadhika, and it's a privilege to be a part of this meaningful conversation. For the longest time, believe me, I've been in the disability sector over 12 years now. Women and disability almost went hand in hand, right? Because why? Um, it's all about value. When you see value, then you will know that it matters, right? So it's about how much you can see value in an individual. So women were also actually looked at as a type of a disability, like more a beneficiary. And now when you add the layer of disability to that, it becomes even more worse. It's like a burden, not only a problem, but also a burden. Now, what we've been able to do in the space of inclusion and disability livelihoods is we are able to shift this narrative of saying value for a person with disability, be it woman, male, any gender, but value for a person with disability. Even today, we are talking, when you talk the word inclusion, it's still inclusion means women inclusion. It's not gone beyond to say anyone and everyone have a seat at the table. So that's the space we are. But it is so wonderful to see that here we have a panel of people sitting with us who've been able to shift the narrative in their own ways and in their own spaces of saying that women are no longer just beneficiaries or participants, or we are shouting and saying your voices need to be heard. But here are women who are representing something much more powerful about saying that how can women come together and become architects of systems, builders of ecosystems. And to know more about that, like for example, when we have to talk about all the organizations getting represented here by eminent leaders, Each of the persons here represent a very, very different dimension of social impact. Innovation that supports entrepreneurs solving some of the toughest challenges through social alpha. We certainly have Ruby here, who will talk and let us know more about her journey as well as the organizations. Deeply human movement supporting cancer survivors with dignity through CanFilm. Akriti here is that whole symbol of resilience and who will share her journey. And a global grassroots revolution where rural women became solar engineers. I mean, unthinkable, right? Through the Barefoot College. How do we make this happen? And in my own journey of being at Enable India, where we work towards livelihoods and dignity for persons with disabilities. Today, we really want to explore something more deeper than just achievements. Let's actually come together and understand what drives women to build when the odds are actually stacked against them, right? What does leadership really look like in the social impact world, in the real lived experiences of whatever challenges and barriers you'll have faced? And how do we create impact that lasts beyond just us? What do we leave behind through all the work that we do? Most importantly, and I don't want to miss that question, is that if you were to actually talk to your younger selves today, what would you want to tell them? All right. So with that, let me actually begin with introducing Ruby Pratap Singh, who's from Social Alpha. Ruby, and I know you will do justice to your own introduction. Whatever I say will be very, very, very less and minimal, maybe. So Ruby works at the intersection of innovation, entrepreneurship, and impact. Her work focuses on enabling startups that are tackling real world challenges from climate resilience to agriculture. And while also creating pathways for women entrepreneurs in spaces, and I want to highlight that have been traditionally male dominated. Ruby, what has this journey been? For someone who actually believes that impact is not just about funding ideas, but about building ecosystems where those ideas can thrive, what has that journey been? Would love to hear from you.
Thanks, Preeti. Thanks for the invite. And I mean, this can go long. I know it is not a 60 minutes or a 1 hour discussion. It can go long because every individual will connect with the story that we bring on the board. But yeah, good to be here. Good to be a part of this discussion. And personally, I come from a state where till date women's are might uh, don't get enough opportunities to come out from the shell or from being encouraged to speak out loud, right? So I come from those community yet. So I come from Odisha and I have studied agriculture. And when we talk about agriculture during our college times or during our masters, we have seen women's are the driving force on the field. So when the labor workforce is shortage in the field on the field, women's are the one you will find on the field. I mean, bending down and doing all the activities. Yet, when it comes to commercials, they are nowhere in the picture. And they even do not get enough remuneration for this labor work, right? And that's where the husband comes to the picture and play a role of getting the labor paid payments and all. So that's very disturbing as well at that point of time. How much ever we talk in different forums about encouraging laborers, women farmers, bringing on board and encouraging them to be leaders, we have seen very limited happening, that very limited opportunities for them happening. Either we are invited just to be a part of the panel, or even if we speak, I don't think people, I mean, I don't see women's heard maybe the potential that men's get or men's are heard in the forums, right? So that has been experienced personally. I have been fortunate. I'll tell everybody that I have been fortunate enough. I come from a background where my we are two daughters, and my family has encouraged me to encourage us to be educated and have a position in the society to speak for yourself. So I'm very fortunate enough. But coming to the professional journey, um, I started working with AIDIA NAM in Hyderabad. It's an incubation. I started actually with a startup in Odisha itself, which works in a supply chain. And trust me, our labor force in our entire supply chain, 90% of them were women's. And the kind of efficiency and honesty they bring on the board is something that we might not expect from the counter partner, right? So that has been the experience, and that's the learning that we have got. That, and that's where we have been consciously looking forward to get women's who want to be empowered and earn for their livelihood. So that was my first experience of encountering the balance between the genders in a workplace. But going forward, when we talk about the ecosystem in general, very particularly talking about agri-tech ecosystem, I have encountered almost maybe 500 plus startups. I might have interviewed or interacted personally with more than 1,000, and personally worked with 200, 300 startups, investment plus incubation in their journey from lab to the market. Trust me when I say this, I have not seen a woman sitting with me and discussing about the decision making of the startup. I can hardly even not even say 10%, it's maybe 5% where I see the female co-founders are sitting with me talking about the business or talking about the tech. When it comes to maybe HR part, they I mean that's very negligible part. And when we talk about a startup, HR is the very HR is the last thing that we speak about. There are many more priorities when we speak in a startup business, the deployments, the fundraising, everything. So that has been the experience, and that exists till date. Till date, I in my cohort of 29 startup right now, I was just speaking Preeti, before this call also, right? There was only one female founder who attended the conclave, and we were talking about the equalities in the ecosystem. But the good things are also coming on board. So we had seen a shift in the farmers ecosystem. Now they have also started adopting technologies, and they have started adopting faster than the counterpartners. So that change and the shift has been very evident in few of the places that we are working. It will take its own time, but I feel the journey is the journey has begun, and it will take its own time, course of time, to make some difference. My personal learning has been, can we also encourage. So there is a very I'm sorry, I want to quote this here. Within team also, we keep on saying the women's are biggest hurdle for the women's. Can we break that? Can we break this myth that women's are encouraging? And I mean, come on, let's see, in our own families we have in-laws, we have parents who keeps on questioning us, right? Can we break that? Can the female encourage the other females to be a part of this kind of forums, to speak out loud, to talk their thoughts out? Can we not stop them not talking about the challenges? Can we not shy out from doing that? So this has been by my learning. I have been fortunate. I'll again quote this, but yeah, I'll just stop here.
Oh, that's wonderful to hear, Ruby. And you said such a powerful thing that while women are implementers, they are forerunners in everything. But being a decision maker is the next level. And how can we make this happen is only when more women can be that voice or the support for one another. When you have the when we have each other's back and are cheerleaders for one another, then you will see that magic happen, right? So when community leads community, then things do happen. I would love to bring on at this point in time our next panelist, Akriti. Akriti Gupta, founder of CanFin. What makes Akriti's journey remarkable that it began with a deeply personal loss? And instead of allowing that grief to remain very personal, she's transformed it into a movement that has touched over, I think, 50,000 cancer survivors. And through CanFilm, she has built a community that ensures cancer care is not only about treatment, but also about dignity, emotional support, and human connection. So, Akriti, in this whole space where it's most difficult to keep showing up, right? To rise against all odds, to say that I will not let this, and I will not go down with just this much. There's much more, and I will rise like a phoenix. What has that been to take you to that place?
Firstly, thank you so much, Preeti, for introducing me with such beautiful words. You captured, you captured the entire essence of what I'm doing, and I highly appreciate that. Thank you so much. I started my journey with cancer care very young. I was 17 years old when my father was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer, and he was given only 10% chances to survive. And honestly, that time was extremely devastating for me. It was not just that, I was seeing the man that I love the most suffering and going through chemotherapies for constantly, 4 days, 5 days, 6 days, and losing his hair, and just seeing him like that. But also it was a lot of other problems that we were facing. Be it financially, he was the only breadwinner in the family at that time, and he was fired when his treatment for cancer started. He was CFO of a mid-sized organization then, and still, he was fired from his job. And or Be it the societal stigma that we faced, where when my mother was told that don't tell anyone that your husband has cancer, you have two daughters, who is going to marry your daughter if someone knows that there was cancer in the family. And Instead of giving up to these things, and also honestly, there was a lot of confusion around the disease. At that time, we are talking about 2015, 16, and at that time, there was no chat GPT. There was, I mean, we were clueless on, how to navigate through the disease, what is going to happen next, how to manage these side effects, what is normal, what is not normal, etc., etc. It was a very daunting time, but instead of giving up to all of this, what we thought was that if we are suffering this problem, others must be too. And therefore, Win Over Cancer, a not for profit organization, was started from the same hospital bed where my father was getting his chemos done. And his oncologist became our mentor. My mother became my co founder. And we started this not for profit Win Over Cancer, where we crafted various programs around cancer awareness, raising funds for patients for treatment. And we also developed breast prosthetic and external prosthetic for breast cancer patients, which costed 80% less than imported alternatives, and started distributing it free of cost. So, like today, we are the biggest who are doing this particular program in India, and in fact, one of the biggest manufacturers of breast prosthetics in India today. We have a patent on it, and like I'm very happy Tata Memorial is doing a research on it today, comparing it with traditional imported silicone alternatives. And initial research shows that our prosthetics are equivalent to the silicone ones. So probably recommendations are going to come up soon to the government that why are you relying on imported alternatives if we have something like an indigenous technology for it. So honestly speaking, when I look back upon my journey, sometimes I feel that my work gave me it became an anchor for me, and it is something that kept me and my family going. My father had four relapses. His cancer journey was 5 years long. We lost him in 2020 to COVID, but in those 5 years, he had four relapses, and every time he had a relapse, there was a new kind of cancer that came in. So by the end of his life, he was suffering from four different kinds of cancer. So, it was honestly a crazy time for us. I have no idea in fact, I have no idea how I would have survived those years of uncertainty if I did not have my work, my impact, and uh, the, like we always say that probably the people that we were impacting we felt that the energy actually channeled back to us, and it became strength and core of our family. So in 2020 I started CanFem, which is a for-profit enterprise, uh, again working on non-clinical aspect of cancer care. We are the first in India who are doing that, where we are a one-stop platform focusing on products and services which are not traditionally part of cancer treatment but are very very important for a patient. So like for example, we have breast prosthetics, lingerie, post-surgery kits, wigs, counseling services, physiotherapy services, peer support, everything together at one platform, so that a cancer patient and caregivers don't have to roam around, coordinate with 10 different vendors, understand where to get this product from, which is the best one. So, and that too, in almost every category, we have a variety of products. Like, for example, we have a 2000 rupees wigs, we also have a 20,000 rupees wigs, and we have a 7,000 rupees wig. So, with every category of product we deal, we also make sure that we have a variety of it available so that it is there for, like every person can afford it. It is accessible to each and every person. And people who cannot afford it, we have a not for profit for that. So we provide it free of cost through our not for profit. So we've been working in the hybrid model. We have impacted over 250,000 lives so far in total, directly impacted over 50,000 cancer patients. And yeah, our work is going and going and going. So, yeah, I mean, it's a difficult space to be in, honestly speaking. There is a lot of ethical dilemma, especially, when it comes to choosing a patient sometimes, whom to fund, whom to say no to, because obviously, we have, I mean, every organization has constraints. But one thing that I would say is that again, I mean, no matter, like, I have been very, very, like, I'm very thankful that our work has been recognized by United Nations or British royal family. But at the end of the day, when, like, for example, the other day, about a month back, I was on the field and I was at Ames, and suddenly a woman just came to me and said that, "Hey, you are Akriti." I was like, "Yes, how do you know me?" And she said, I attended almost every workshop that you organize, and thank you so much, because of your prosthetic I was able to get back into teaching, and I had my life back after cancer. Or the other day I received a random call, and like the woman shared that after using a wig she was able to attend birthday party of her 5-year-old son, who was like, "Mom, please don't attend my birthday party, my friends will make fun of you." And it was a 5-year-old kid, and she said that after wearing the wig, my son was very happy that I could attend his birthday party, and I was also very happy. So these are the, kind of small, small moments that keep us going and keep me going. So yes, this has been my journey so far.
Oh my, Akriti, I think this was very moving. But what stood out for me most is and the lesson that I would want to take away and also share is that whatever that you focus on grows. In life or in any situation, you focus on the problem, then you're only looking at the problem, right? But if you were to focus on the solution and what solution, how can I solve this, not just for me but for many, and just look at what happens. So that's basically it. I've seen this across. It's been my own personal journey as well, because we come across on a daily basis so many people, right? Because I work in the space of employment, and believe me, in livelihoods, it's not a very thankful job, because everyone wants more, everyone wants much more, and why not, right? But to also come back every day and say that, that one person, who and a person with disability becoming a primary breadwinner in the family, and actually saying, "Hey, you know what, I run my home." That's the stories that make us come alive. And the whole fact that in that situation you also had a cheerleader as a doctor and your mom who stood by. I think in our lives, somewhere we also have those cheerleaders who come there and stand by with us, right? What also stood out for me out of what you shared is about how you can take a whole solution and create a market out of it in this whole space. So many, many lessons to learn, but over to Soumya Kadambi, the CEO and Managing Director of Barefoot College. Soumya, there's so much that has happened where you've shifted the narrative in the space in the rural, sector. Now, Barefoot College, we know globally for a powerful idea, the solutions to many of our challenges already exist within communities themselves. This is something that we in Enable India also resonate completely with us. You don't need to innovate more, you just need to make things discoverable because it already exists. You just need to turn the light on. But through the Solar Mothers program, for rural women, many of whom never had formal education, and that's important to know, are trained as solar engineers. And I love the word engineers, as what you're calling it, bringing light to villages across more than 90 countries. Soumya's leadership continues now to expand the global movement while staying very rooted in the belief that grassroots wisdom is a powerful force for change. So, Soumya, what has it mattered to you the most? I know you did mention that your journey has been very new in this whole space, but what resonates with you?
Thanks, Preeti, and it was fantastic to hear Ruby and Akriti. Work that's very different from the work that I've been involved with, but definitely something that one should look at and learn from, and also find ways of collaborating. Especially with cancer, it's just such a reality now. Every other family, it's just, I mean, it's not even something that I think as a society we are prepared for. And it just seems to be increasing. And in rural areas, that's been my entire experience. So I think I'm going to actually put it this way. If urban women face a challenge, then I think you put a rural woman, her challenges are XXX, so it's literally in terms of opportunities. There is a certain kind of challenge that urban women face, but an even more difficult challenge for women from rural families, traditionally patriarchal. I mean, even today, patriarchy exists, urban, rural. Ruby touched upon it, didn't go too much into details, but the truth is that it could, a girl from Hyderabad married into a family in Rajasthan, grown up in an urban city, goes to a rural village because that's where her husband is. And suddenly you see a transformation. She goes from this girl who's wearing salwar kameez, very modern clothes, to lenga, lugdi, and ghungat. You can't talk to her because if her in-laws are around, she will not speak to you. If her jate is around, she won't talk to you if there's somebody elder. So I think the rural perspective is just mind-bogglingly difficult. And I represent an organization that began its work in 1972. So if I'm talking about a situation in 2026 being the way it is, you can imagine what it was in 1972 when the organization began. The Barefoot College has, right from the beginning, from day one, concentrated on two sectors. And it's interesting, Preeti, that you work in the area of disabilities, because disability was one of the sectors. Most of our initial, people we hired were people with disabilities. And we also worked very closely with women because we saw women as change makers. If you actually look at rural India's composition, most men, able-bodied men, migrate. They don't stay in the village. It's very rare to find young, able-bodied men staying back in their village. There's not too much kheti, at least in the region where we work. It's very arid, it's dry. We are in the middle of the Aravallis, so you can imagine how difficult it is for people to even find proper drinking water. So our first intervention was actually not even solar. The first intervention was with water. And I bring up the issue of water because all of you who've actually worked in rural India would know that one source of water, other than the kuan, other than the well, is the hand pump. And traditionally, hand pumps were repaired by only men. So if you had a hand pump which was not functioning and it required just a 10 rupee washer to be changed, then the PHED would send a truck from Jaipur or Ajmer or wherever to that village spending thousands of rupees to change a 10 rupee washer. And often by the time they sent somebody to repair it, it would be like 2 months, 3 months. And the women were the ones who were badly affected because pani, who brings the water? Who fetches the water from either the well or the hand pump? It is women. So we trained the first batch of women hand pump mistries. And I interacted with the first hand pump mistry who was trained by Barefoot, and it was a remarkable story, because she's a great storyteller any which way. The way they express themselves is fantastic. But she said, when I got trained and a hand pump, was not functioning, they told me, isko jaake go and repair it. The entire village gathered. Men, women, everybody. The women in their ghungat saying, do you think she'll be able to do it? Nare, she's taken on a big task. Do you think she's going to be able to do it? And all the men looking at her saying, Are, ye to, she's a woman. Kahan se ye wo hand pump? Because the hand pump is very heavy. The first the cover of the hand pump, to pull it off requires like mammoth strength. So she said, I went, there were a couple of us, we tried lifting it. First time we tried lifting it, nahi hua, because bahut saal se it was jammed. And all the men watching were like, Are, we told them in the beginning itself, inke bas ka rog nahi. Then she said, we looked at them and we said, no, today we have to prove ourselves. And then she said, we put in twice or thrice great effort and we pulled it and we patkoed it. I mean, we threw it onto the side. And she said there was first a gasp from all the women saying, she's actually done it. And then the men, there was just pin drop silence. They didn't know how to react. But that is where the hand pump mystery program started. And almost everything that Barefoot has done, we've always made sure that we do only pilots. We show the government that there is this scope. Government does not have the intention or the ability or even the scope to be able to do a pilot because it's too much effort. So our thing was ki you show government that this is a possibility and then let them take it up and mainstream it. So hand pump mysteries, female hand pump mysteries in every village got trained and they've become part of the Sarkari system. They're not on our rolls. We just showed them that this is a possibility. Solar was the other aspect. It began in the late 90s. I think Bunker was traveling somewhere in France and a university professor said, the future is going to be renewable energy and solar. You have such a big campus. Why don't we train people? So apparently Bunker said, why don't we train women? So that's where the Barefoot Solar Mamas program actually started. The first set of solar technicians. So this whole thing of education, we assume that just because we've gone to college, we've got a degree, we have more knowledge and understanding than those who've never been to school, never been to college, never been to university. The truth is, look around yourself. People we call unskilled are the ones building our parliament building. Are they truly, truly unskilled? Can I lay bricks to build a building? Not in this lifetime. Can I dig a pond? Not in this lifetime. It's not something that is a skill of mine. Yet, my ability to sit on a computer and type and write in English and speak flawless English, flawless Hindi, puts me into a category where I'm highly skilled. But somebody who is doing the kind of work that builds, they're part of nation building, we completely look at them as, ye to padha likha nahi hai, she's not educated. What is she going to be able to manage? So when we started the Barefoot Solar Mamas program, we were very clear. In fact, Barefoot all through, it's becoming more difficult now because with the intervention in education, it's difficult to find a young woman who has not gone to school at least till the 5th or the 6th. But our entire thrust has always been to work with rural women who have never been to school or college, because they are the ones who need the opportunity. I was once asked, how do you empower women? And what do you do to empower women? And I laughed and I said, who am I to empower anyone? How did I get empowered? My parents gave me opportunities. You give a woman opportunity, she'll figure out her empowerment. She doesn't need you or me. So this whole notion that empowerment is something you have to hand down to a person, only then they will get empowered, is ridiculous. That notion is ridiculous. I feel give equal opportunities. Give opportunities to women the way you've given opportunities to men, and then you will see, matlab takht paltega. Then equality begins there. So when we started our Barefoot Solar program, the idea was that an engineer, a technician, does not have to be only somebody who's gone to a school or college. I can tell you there are engineers today who have passed out, who have never been to a lab, who cannot even, they can't identify a circuit and tell you what a circuit is. Then the women we have trained, they've been trained with color coding patterns. And within days of training, they are able to tell you ampere, watt, volt, stuff that I also don't know. I mean, if I had time, I would have shown you a short video of just the way, I mean, I was stunned. This girl said, I come from an extremely poor family. I have never bothered. I mean, bijli ka bill aata tha, so we would get a shock, but we had no idea what was, ampere was, volt was. And she could explain each thing. So what started in India, we went around 96 countries. In fact, 2 years ago, we trained a batch from South Africa. Women from Barefoot College, rural women, first generation who have stepped out of their homes, have gone to countries like Fiji, to countries like Nigeria, to Burkina Faso, to places which I've only seen on the map. They've actually visited and they've trained other women. They've done rural solar electrification. And the idea is that a degree does not actually prove that you have skills. And that the respect that experience brings to the table is not something that we can, we can just brush away. And the last parting bit that I would like to say is that recently we signed a non-financial MOU with the Rajasthan state government to train SHG women to become solar sakhis. It's in fact being carried as a cover story in January's edition of the India Today. The idea behind that is, if you see now, Government of India, state governments are pushing for rooftop solar that is linked to the grid, so that we produce electricity from our chat. What they haven't thought of, I mean, every government and every institution is thrilled about infrastructure. So you're willing to spend, hundreds of crores of rupees on infrastructure, but you're not willing to pay a woman 500 rupees once in a month to maintain that infrastructure, because without maintenance, that infrastructure just goes to weeds. So we told them, instead of giving it to private players, instead of giving it to big, the maintenance contracts to big companies, just imagine every village has 1 or 2 women who have been trained as barefoot solar technicians. They will maintain the panchayat infrastructure. They will maintain the household solar infrastructure that's there in the village. And they earn a living through it. But it's not just a living. It's the respect, the dignity that comes with that, the visibility that comes with that. And we choose women because we know they will stay back. We know that they will not migrate. The responsibilities that they have to take care of children, home, elderly, managing everything. This is one way for them to get recognized, for them to get paid, and for them to get respect from a society that otherwise says, "Hi, महिलाएं क्या है? बड़ी liability है जी, हम तो फंस गए." Even today, educated families are not willing to give their girls. I mean, we send our children to become engineers, doctors, and then when they get married, the in-laws say, we don't want we want a highly educated girl, but usko ghar बिठाने के लिए. What an absolute waste. It's a social drain. Parents are investing lakhs of rupees on their children's education, and then they just want somebody who will sit at home and wash dishes and manage the home. I'm not saying that that's not important work. It's just work that doesn't get recognized. Monetize it, and then you will know how much work a woman does and how lightly we take it. Our first reaction is, Are, what was she doing at home? She was just chilling. A woman sitting at home and chilling. I mean, really, you have to give me, I don't even know how to react to something like that. So I feel urban women have a certain set of challenges, but rural women have just double or triple the same set of challenges. And my mother and my parents stood by every single decision that I made in my life. And I think that's what's given me, and every single person that I actually look at as a mentor in my life has been a woman. Strong women who've managed home and careers, but have been absolutely cut and dry about the fact that though they had opportunities, there were also limitations that kept getting put on them, but told me, you fly. You don't need to look at those limitations. So I actually stand for all the rural women. I don't think I've achieved anything great. When I see them and their challenges, I'm like, what amazing women. I mean, who am I to even empower them? They are empowered. They're telling me what
Wow.
empowerment
Yeah.
is. Thank you.
Oh, I think phenomenal, you've painted such a wonderful picture for us, Ruby. And you're so right. Rural India is the backbone of India, and that's where there's so much happening and there's so much of opportunity. What stood out for me, and I would love to hear voices from everyone else as well, is that what access does, right? What access to opportunity does to an individual. And that's something that I will surely take away is that when you said that, give an opportunity, then you see what empowerment is, right? And most importantly is when access equals agency, when you can give access and also ensure that you have choice. When Akriti was talking about wigs across, but come and choose your wig. Arey wah, there is some occurred in that. Come and choose your wig. See what you like. So pain can be beautiful. You can make it different. Now, with whatever that you said, is that focus on the skill. अरे ये engineer बनने के ये काम सुलझाने के लिए you want to solve this problem, what do you need? You just need to know how to change the washer, fix this, fix that, and it's doable. You don't need 5 years of engineering. So the knowledge, skill, and attitude make that happen. And that's really what our employability framework is all about. And that's why we could do the unthinkable of saying that, a blind guy can be a networking engineer. There is access. You can create access. You can make something accessible. So that was something that happened. Now, behind all of the systems thinking and the systems building, if we see it is all focused on building human capital. Now, when we're talking about that, I would really want you all to answer very specifically as per your each organization. What has sustainable impact? What does it have? What has it meant? And what is scale looking like for you all today? And maybe each of you all can take your turn and answer this question.
Yeah, Preeti, I can go first. So I'll just quickly give a overview of what Social Alpha does. So Social Alpha is we call it ourselves as an innovation curation platform for connecting the innovations from lab to market journey and bridging the gap between the science and the society. That's where we stand. We don't call ourselves a typical incubator or an investor. We try to do things that can take a technology which is relevant, which can solve a problem, at least in the space of agriculture, climate, and health. So that has been the mandate. Financially, how it has been a decision maker for us is um, so when we develop proposals with the founders. Actually, before that, I would like to start with making you help you with the thesis that we try to build. At least we have built our own thesis around around each sector. For example, in agriculture, we have built our thesis of soil irrigation, crop management, farm mechanization, etc., etc. Very particularly for women farmers, we have identified small farm mechanization as a bigger challenge, because as I mentioned, right, the women labor force on the field is very high. At least 90% of the labor on the field during the cropping season are women. So that has stood out like a big time challenge for us. How do we solve their problem? How can we solve the problem of women's bending and doing the sewing, or women's doing the harvesting, where there is no accessible or relevant gender based equipments for them? So that has been called out very particularly in our thesis areas. Like if it has to be a soil, it has to be so easy that a women farmer can also understand how the soil is responding for the crop productivity. So the work has started with that, building a thesis, understanding how the women farmers can be impacted, till the point where we have built our own deployment team on the field who focus more on women farmers. So financially, when we talk, we consciously keep a part of our proposals to understand how we can impact our female farmers, by the technologies, by the funders, by us. So that has been a integral part of our journey. Just to quote one example, we again recently concluded one workshop where on the dais we were having two farmers, two female founders speaking about their journey. As I think Soumya mentioned about the solar Didis, we also have soil Didis. So she was so vocal about her journey that she was her father could not was too old to do any job and get some money for the house. She opted out. She is educated. She opted out to do her own business. And one of the entrepreneur who has developed a soil testing device has made her, empowered her rather, to go or to do the soil testing on the field and earn out of it. Now she is a role model for the entire village. She has done, I think, almost around 300 soil DDs through her network. So that kind of impact has been created through our journey, our work. Similarly, we are looking forward to create more on health as well, where primary health care at the district and the block levels are so isolated. For example, for by the time a woman delivery happens, and I came across a solution of a small portable incubator that can take the baby from the point of delivery to the hospital at a proper atmosphere, was such a beautiful innovation, and catering the entire parameters of temperature, everything. So these are the kind of solutions we are coming across, and people are thinking in that line. There is a change on the field as well. So yeah, I see this journey is becoming very different for me, at least in the last 2 3 years.
Oh, wonderful. Would quickly want to move on to Akriti. What is scale and sustainability looking like? I know it's not an easy question in this space, but then would love to want to hear from you.
It's very unfortunate, actually, Preeti, that the demand for non-clinical interventions and interventions that improve quality of life of cancer patients is actually increasing, because the number of cancer cases is increasing every year in
Yeah.
India and globally. However, the good thing is that our medical uh, uh, science is also getting advanced, and therefore the survivorship is also increasing. However, hardly anyone thinks that, like a cancer patient is becoming a cancer survivor. The population of cancer survivors is increasing, but who helps those survivors to get back into the society with dignity? For example, there are a lot of breast cancer patients who quote to me that um, uh, cancer happened, we lost our hair, uh, our nails got blackened, uh, we lost strength of our body, but we lost our breast. Everything came back except our breast. So I became a survivor, but I don't feel like a, sometimes I don't feel like a woman anymore. So, those are the words that we hear, and those are the words that kind of also inspired us to start something sustainable. In fact, I would say that my my will for a sustainable model uh, was one of the reasons why we started CanFim, the for-profit organization, and now we are working in a hybrid model. Because I mean, today we have a lot of aspiring entrepreneurs and young entrepreneurs in the audience, and I would like to share. So this is one thing that one of my entrepreneurship professor used to say, that how when we live, when I mean, we all live a life, and for living, oxygen is very, very essential to us, right? We cannot live, we cannot be alive if we are not breathing. But is our purpose to breathe? Is oxygen purpose of our life? No, right? So similarly, revenue and finance is very, very important. It's the oxygen of the business. Uh, it's a not-for-profit model or it is a for-profit model. You need to have very strong finances. You need to have a very strong hold on revenues, on profits, on costs, on unit costs, and we are very. I mean, uh, we have been quite successful in this way, where we had been profitable since day one, and we had been scaling and we had been partnering. However, the purpose of the organization is the core, is why the organization um, is there, and is growing. So our core purpose remains the same, that we want to work on the non-clinical aspect of cancer care. So for us, probably sustainability looks like where we for me, I think it's a bigger, like I have a bigger vision, where the way, there are protocols for chemotherapy. I recently moved to the US, and here I see that all these non-clinical products, prosthetics, wigs, even counseling services, nutrition services, they all are part of insurance packages. I mean, they are part of the treatment protocol, and this is what we need in India. If our cancer care uh, is developing, if every hospital is opening up a new building, a special cancer care building, uh, next to their main multi-speciality building. If every hospital, in cities, we have big billboards that we have this particular new machine for cancer diagnostic. If we are investing so much, why can't we also press upon how to make a cancer patient's life happier, how to make them feel like a normal person again, how there should not be a tag of cancer survivor, there should be just a tag of person, that this is a person, this is not a cancer survivor, this is a person. So I think this is what sustainability looks for me. Firstly, on the business side of it, and on the finances side of it, that we keep on growing, we keep on expanding, we could keep on rising. And that is also very funny, that how most women, we are kind of taught not to talk about how much we are earning, how much um, we are spending, how much, and a lot of women are, taught how to save, but how many of us are taught how to invest? I mean, I am very proud that I talk straight numbers. I want at least 2x growth every year. I want my revenue to double up every year. I want my partnerships to double up every quarter. And we have very, honestly speaking, like I have had certain, investors from, not investors actually, but like certain representatives from biggest technology institutes. I won't name the institute, but them coming and saying that, oh, you have a 80% women team, like your 80% of the team is women. Is that the reason you're not aggressive enough? And I was like, tell me in your portfolio how many startups you have who are doing such great revenue. Tell me in your portfolio how many startups are there who are profitable since day one. All your stars are running like the day they are not able to raise the next round of funding, they will be bankrupt. And you're asking me that, you're not aggressive enough. What nonsense is this? So, like, own your success and don't shy away from your success. And also, if you even if you are running a business or a not for profit for impact, while your purpose is very important for me, still my patients come first. My stakeholders, especially doctors and hospitals and other stakeholders, are very important to me. But my profits and my revenue, and even in my not-for-profit organization, I make sure that all my people are paid well. It does not mean that if you're working in a social sector, uh, you have to work in a dignified way, and you have to create a very dignified environment for everyone. So
I
please,
mean, I
please
just
own your.
like what you're saying, Akriti. And I've been thinking that always, right? Because when we talk disability inclusion and everything, we say it should be of economic value. And just because you're talking disability or anything, it shouldn't be one sad story with violence playing in the background and whatever. So, purpose and profit can intersect and it can converge. And why should we shy away from that? Right? It doesn't eat away from anything. You need, if you need the purpose, you need to make societal change and impact, you need the revenue. And what's wrong with that? And that can come from innovation, more things feeding into more things happening. Yes, but then what is your metrics for measurement? You're talking about survivorship. You're not talking about how many people got cancer. You're talking about how many people survived, how many people had better quality of life, how many people have dignity, how many people have access. So the measurements are very different when we're talking in the space of social impact. Very specifically to Soumya, and I think this will be our question here, is that give me that one pivotal moment for you when you said that, yeah, this was it, this changed the game in Barefoot College. What was that barrier that you actually overcame? Because we've spoken about how, and you have shared specifically that women, I mean, sorry, the human capital is the backbone of any systemic change, right? So how you build that community, but very specifically on what was that barrier and challenge you all overcame to create that pivotal moment for Barefoot College.
So I think, decisions like who you work with, and a decision like that coming in the early 70s, of saying we will work with women because that is, that women need that kind of opportunity. I think that kind of settled our first step in terms of what the challenges were. Because naturally, if you're, in the early 70s, when we decided to work with women, that was the biggest challenge. It's just getting them out, getting them to come, telling them, nay, you have to believe in yourself because we're believing in you. And that's remained something that we've chosen not to compromise on. I've had people come to me and say, oh, ma'am, why are you only working with women? I've had donors who come and say, why only women, ma'am? Broad base it. Young men are also looking for opportunities. And I'm like, they'll find it. Even if they don't find it, the families will fund it from some way or the other. If they have to sell a kidney, a lung, a liver, they will do it, but they will still find that opportunity for a boy. They will not find it for a girl. So there has been pressure over a period of time, saying, why are you so narrow in terms of just wanting to work with women? And even in scale, I mean, if today we are looking at globally or within India itself, or even within the state of Rajasthan, we look to help the government train their budget. The Rajasthan government's budget commitment last year was that they would train 20,000 barefoot, they would train 20,000 solar sakhis. And just imagine they didn't have a budget for it. They made the announcement, they had no budget. And we went in saying, we'll get the money. You just identify the women. These are the parameters. They have to be from economically really weak families. They have to be from marginalized families. There should be women who are willing to come for 40 days for an in-house training. And your commitment to us is that once we finish training them, you will give them livelihood opportunities, because there's no point training somebody, giving them a skill if it ghar bitha do. So the scale is not 1 or 2. We're looking at training, helping the state government train 20,000 people. That's going to require, our first batch was 30 women, and it was a pilot batch to see how it goes, and it did fantastically well. Now, what's on our head is that how are we going to look at training these, training women across the entire state in different areas, so they don't have to travel all the way to Tilonia, one corner of Rajasthan, all the way down to our campus might not also be feasible. So in terms of scale, I think we're very clear. We want to do the best. We want to make sure that we reach as many households as possible. I think from the challenge point of view, the greatest challenge has been, every donor who comes in has their own sense of what needs to be done. In fact, for corporate social responsibility, I don't know how many of you have faced this, but we have agencies that tell us, "Aap kaam shuru karo," and we are happy to fund you. But by the time their funding comes, it's 3 months into a project. Now, imagine the scale you have to be operating at and the kind of revenues you as an NGO have to be able to sustain a program for 3 months from your own revenue. So no new NGO can even survive, because they don't have that kind of money to put in 3 months of money from their pocket before the donor gives the money. So in terms of scale, I think we've already covered 96 countries. There is only so much in terms of covering countries that we can do. But yes, from each country, we can keep getting requests every year saying we would like to train our women. But given the fact that we want to ensure the quality of that training, there's always this thrill aspect of, oh, can we train 100,000 women together? I'm like, no. If we are good at training 60 women at a time, we will stick to 60. We do not want to take on 120, 240, 360 just because the opportunity is there, somebody is willing to support it. Because I know at the end of the day, in transfer of any skill, ensuring quality and making sure that, that person-to-person interaction is there is very important. So while scale really has never been something that I've looked at as anything, that I have to achieve, I presume it's something that's required when you're running a for-profit, or, you have to show growth. I think from an NGO's perspective, I would look at our ability to absorb and continue the quality. And that's something we've stuck with. I mean, I've never been swayed by numbers.
Oh, fantastic.
Despite
That's
government
awesome.
saying karo, I'm like, nahi, hum itna kar sakte hain, we will only do this.
I think very few people would say that, because the minute you say the word scale, it's numbers. But when we're talking along with scale, we're also saying quality. And for me, it's always been about, when you say scale, it's about what you do fantastically and what are the barriers you can eliminate for one person. And if that you can eliminate for one completely, I think that's what scale would actually mean. One thing. So yeah, listening to you, Soumya, what actually has stuck with me is about women on the whole decision making of saying it will be women, and to be able to see value in that and stick by that, right? That conviction, how important it is to say that, hey, I see value to India's economy when I focus on women, and then just stick by that. So that is something that is seen there, and the whole focus around it and stuff. In all of our discussions today, what all came together was a whole sense of purpose and passion and profits all converging. But all what we got to see in terms of a framework was about structure, solutions, and support systems. I think that actually came together for everybody. Would love to open the floor now to the audience and see what people would want to have questions for Soumya and Akriti. Ruby has had to drop off. She's had a important engagement to be with. But maybe if there are questions, people can put it up in the chat and Janani can get these answers for everybody. So over to the audience.
Yeah, I think maybe we can, since we are a little short of time, maybe we can have questions from the audience and we'll send it over to you. So whenever you people are also available, we can get back. And I think we'll just take it forward. And you've already put up, concluded kind of for everything which all the women talked about, ma'am. And so I would just like to thank all of you for coming here, for being a part of this session, because we got to hear stories from the ground up. As Soumya ma'am already said, what are we empowering? It's not that, it's about how we are, and how Ruby ma'am mentioned that to support to the support towards women with each other. So I just like to invite Vijender. He's our program manager for social entrepreneurship, to deliver a vote of thanks. So over to you, Vijender. Yeah.
I think it's not a network issue. Maybe it's just that.
Yeah, Vijender, we were about to conclude, so you can go ahead with the vote of thanks.
Oh, so sorry. It was the internet disconnect.
Yeah, we
Thank
had
you.
little issue
Thank.
glitches as well today.
Okay. So good afternoon once again to all. And then, yeah, it was, I just lost in the conversation actually. I was thinking and then it's a wonderful conversation. Firstly, I really thanks. And then the deeper discussion you have taken, Preeti, actually lost in the conversation. So if Akriti is talking about this, what is the background system which is working? If Soumya is mentioning this, like, what is that background? And luckily, fortunately, a couple of years, 10 years ago, I was there in Philonia, and it was one of my kind of inspiration too. And I really felt one thing today is like women. It is not. I'm like the theme itself. The women are not no more participants. They are changing the systems, and then I could see how each one of you actually contributed. That's a wonderful way, and then I really look forward for more learning from all of you again and again. I think I'm going to keep disturbing because I'm here working with social entrepreneurs and all the team is working on that. And I'm very thankful. And then I wish all the women here, women leaders, not just women, women leaders, best wishes. And then thanks for bringing that openness. And then I I I somehow felt like there is no filter while talking. That's the beauty of the entire conversation I felt. And then especially I thank Akriti and then Ruby, Soumya for bringing like there is no limitation of expertise. Anybody can become expertise. And then how Akriti bought that trust is important than innovation. Trust leads to innovation is something what I felt so good. And importantly, what Ruby, how important is the structures and institutions. I don't know, Preeti, how long you prepared on this, but like the tricky questions you have deep dived. Thank you so much for all that. And then I put a special thanks to Janani and the team for bringing specific issue of choosing what kind of people we should bring on Women's Day celebration. And thanks to Janani and the team again. And of course, all the participants. Thank you so much. And I look forward for more women leadership. And then I I also want to quote one more thing. So in the social entrepreneurship sector, women are dominating. I want that to happen more and more. We want 90% women to lead the women's social entrepreneurship. As a stakeholder, I would put it that way. And then all the best and best wishes on Women's International Women's Day. Thank
Thank
you.
you so much. Thank you so much for the platform. And I must say, Soumya, Akriti, Ruby, I think this is must be our first of our meeting together. But I'm not going to stop at this. I'm surely going to connect with you all, and there's so much to do. I would love to intersect with disability across everywhere and see where this leads, right? So thank you so much and have a great weekend.
Preeti
Great
ma'am,
weekend.
like a special thanks to you for moderating and behind us to structure the entire idea. We didn't got that much time also to prepare and all, but still you have rightly put the questions and we were able to bring what we were thinking as like the outcome should be. So we are very glad that you wonderfully did it. So really thank you so much, ma'am, and we'll be definitely going ahead also coming back to you. A lot of things that we can flow together. So yeah, thank you so much. Thank you everyone. Thank you Saumya ma'am. Like I know like you're a bit busy and you just yesterday only you came back here and again like gave us time, and Akriti also. It's night. I know like it's a bit hard for you, and still you're managing and being part of this conversation. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Thank you. And
Sure.
happy
Thank
Women's Day to
you.
all.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you so much. So, for our participants, we would just, before we conclude, we also like to introduce briefly about some initiatives which we are working on. If you are founders, practitioners, or ecosystem partners interested in engaging further with our work, so can I have the presentation? So basically, Bala Vikasa is we are an organization. We've been working for the past 47 years in community development driven projects, and our founder, one of our founders, is also a woman, and her Bala Vikasa is named after her, Bala Teresa. And so we started with community-driven development programs for water conservation, where in fact, Soumya ma'am earlier, how she put it across as though women were the ones who were driving that program is what actually happened with us as well. And we moved on to having a women empowerment or the widow development, women integrated development programs, and further moved on to sustainable agriculture, education, and water conservation. And post that, we also we have three verticals. So this is one of the verticals. The other vertical, People Development and Training Center, which is completely women-led, that works particularly on developing professionals with all the projects which we are implementing, so that they can implement it at their regions in their and develop them according to their areas. And our third vertical, the youngest one, which is us, Center for Social and Responsible Business. We particularly work with supporting social entrepreneurs and nurturing the social entrepreneurship ecosystem. And we have different initiatives in the social entrepreneurship, which incubation, we have a cohort, we'll have some new cohorts going on. And apart from that, we also have capacity building sessions, knowledge partnerships, consultations and mentoring, and our responsible business vertical that looks up after consultancy and advisory for CSR projects, impact assessment, and the social return on investment. And we also have a flagship initiative. It's our Social Entrepreneurship Summit Impulse, which happens every year. We concluded it last year, and it has different initiatives like social entrepreneur expos, chats, discussions, workshops, and this discussion itself is a part of extending Impulse out of a one-off initiative. And we also have a community of social entrepreneurs and ecosystem enablers, which we'll put the link in the chat box so you all can join. And thank you for being a great audience. We hope all the women here we, like all the women here and all the men, you were inspired by our panelists as they so rightly put it across. Yeah, which Vijender also mentioned. It was a thinking for all of us. So yeah, I hope it was an inspiring session for you. So thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you for being with us. If you are working in social space, please do reach out to us. We are all available in LinkedIn, and in website also all our details are there. Thank you so much. Yeah.